Hello and welcome back to another Fylde Road Coaching Podcast. But today we're not going to be doing a podcast. We're going to be switching up a little bit, and we're going to be doing a film review of the Sir Alex Ferguson Secret to Success documentary, which is on Netflix. If you're like it's a really good watch. If you are into your coaching or if you're just into football in general, I recommend watching it. So basically, it's a documentary which is films Sir Alex Ferguson's leadership skills. For example, we're going to be discussing it going forward in this video. I'm here joined with my co-host Lewis Eaton. How you doing? How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I think, like you mentioned then about Alex Ferguson, like it could be good for like sports fans and football fans. I think it could also be good for people who doing business from like a business standpoint of view. I think that's a big thing that I took from it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like it was a lot about how a business was managed now, like an empire is managed really.
Because in the documentary, he goes to this university, and the students aren't, sports coaches. They are aspiring to be business entrepreneurs and etc. And there's a lot they took away from it, and there's a lot we took away from it too, lad. So you want to start with the discussion? You got the
Yeah,
first.
well, there's a few things that I picked up from it, and I thought it was quite interesting. It's about how the woman who was introducing Alex Ferguson, she mentioned how Alex Ferguson understood you needed to be a successful business to be a successful team, and he mentioned how he was in the leadership he knew everyone's name. I thought that was a big thing for me. I thought that was like ridiculously like outstanding. He knew everyone's name. Like he has to remember like 50 all the youth players' names, all the first team players' names, and then he had to remember like all the staff, like the kitchen lady, the people who do the laundry and stuff like that, and like to remember all them names and like to greet people every day. I think that just shows like the type of character and like leader he was, kind of thing.
It makes you recognize even at the highest level of elite football. He's still making that effort to make that family feeling, that family well-being, of that social interactions, which we go on numerous of times in our podcast. And to see somebody with this sort of his stature, one of the best managers ever doing that, it just promotes that high level of leadership he demonstrates,
I think that's like it's like a really good point, like you're saying there. I think like when he mentioned about leadership and like he put on like the like a whiteboard, didn't he, about things which are like important and things that you need, and he said leadership you need to impose discipline, so you will need to like achieve a common objective. And he said that wasn't just like from the football team, that was from like the CEO all the way down to like the person who like does the groundsman or something like that. He said that all kind of needs to be in like a professional like manner kind of thing. Like all need to be disciplined. And I thought it quite interesting when he mentioned about like when it came up about the FA Cup final against Liverpool, and then all the Liverpool players, when they all had them suits on and they were all dressed in like white suits, like red ties and that. And he said like, we're gonna win this and all this before the game. And it was like he talked about how they were dressed and like how they weren't professional, and like he said it was like absolutely ridiculous and stuff like that. And like things like that, he said, were picking up before the game, saying he was already going to win just because of the way they were dressed. I think that's like really like interesting in a way in the sense of like he set the standard really of like how professional a football club should be.
And he also said about how he saw Liverpool as a team to rival Manchester United, and seeing them not acting as professional as them. I think he also said in a documentary that he felt the managers to the other team felt embarrassed to what they were wearing, and from the start, some psychological games going on. And he thought he won them psychological games, and he won the match as well. And also for me, what all stood out for me is, like you talked before, the professionalism. When you win a trophy in football, most teams like to celebrate, they like to talk. I think Rio mentioned in the documentary, like, not like he would have winning that trophy now. He would have been like going to having a few beers, celebrating with the lads. But like in that Manchester United team, it was like, yeah, you won one trophy. Now it's back. Think about the next game, and the next game, win one Premier League title, straight away, like a day after, he'd be back into the training facilities and he'd be like, right, next game. There was no rest for him, and I thought that really like that sort of work ethic really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think it's like a good thing to like. I wouldn't say maybe taking to our coaching at Fylde Road, but I mean, isn't like the way he talked about like striving for that success constantly. Like to win one title's a thing, but to win like as many as he did is like probably will never be done again
Yeah,
at that level of football. But like if you can, I think especially with us when we coach, if you can be the most like professional as you can, and your team's the most professional, and you look the part, then you kind of gonna try and become like you are kind of the
yeah,
halfway there to becoming like successful really, like if
but
you're organized as well and stuff like that.
yeah, but like because obviously his objectives are much more different to our objectives. So he's like striving every day to achieve, to be the best team in England. Our goals are to make everybody feel like socially interacted and socially connected. We could argue about we do that day in day out. We do that game after game. That's our goal, and that's our main focus. And we do the same sort of work ethic as Sir Alex Ferguson towards our goals. They will be like this documentary proves that if we do that, it will be successful.
Yeah, there's a big point that I thought was in it, like about like his upbringing and stuff. So do you think like his philosophy kind of helped, like his upbringing like shaped his philosophy kind of thing?
What so do you mean by like how he was treated as a player, or was he treated as like a rising up as a like by
No,
his
like
family?
raising up, like his mum and dad raising him up. Like, do you think? Because obviously they mentioned that his dad worked in like the coal or something like
Yeah,
coal mines or something, and like it was his dad was like tough. He didn't want to get on the wrong side of his dad, but like his dad would always take him to the football games, and he was always like telling him right for wrong kind of thing. And do you think that kind of that shaped his philosophy kind of thing, the
I think
what
yeah.
he become?
Yeah, I feel like you develop some like key personal skills from your parents growing up. You
Mm.
like you said, like his dad was a very disciplined person. That's probably where he got his disciplined like philosophy from. So
Mm.
you could definitely, I definitely agree with his bringing up. Definitely like I don't know, like sculptured him into this sort of like this into this leader. So I definitely think it is bringing up is a key factor in doing so. Um, but like I feel like before he joined Manchester United, I think he was already successful. Did he not win the
He won the Champions League, didn't he? Or the the European Cup. It's called that with like Aberdeen in Scotland, and like that's crazy. It's crazy to think about that now. In
yeah?
like he
That's
won
like
it. Did he win it? Did he win it back to back? I don't know if he won it back to back. He said something like he won it
I think he just won it once and he might have gone to United, but like that's such a huge achievement as you think about it. That's like
in
in,
Scottish
in
football as well.
modern day football, that's maybe like I don't know, like
Celtic winning it.
I wouldn't say even Celtic, maybe like Hibs.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, mate, I think what was like really interesting is like how he was like saying about his upbringing, like kind of like shaped the way he was
Yeah,
and like the way he treated people and stuff like that. Like he was always taught to treat no matter like if you're like the lowest or like the bottom of the like the in the club or from the top, he like treated everyone the same kind of thing. I thought another interesting point was when he mentioned about his man management. What do you
yeah.
think? Like, what do you think about that? Like when he was like talking about it.
Well, I just think I think it's impressive. I think how you have to somehow understand that not every single player in your team is the same.
Mm.
Like he talked about Eric Cantona, like Eric Cantona, like he would have a go. So like Ferguson would have got Ryan Giggs for wearing trainers, even though he'd be wearing like a full like suited and booted and all that. But Eric Cantona would be in the corner wearing jeans, and he'll be like, "Why did you never go at him?" And he'll
Yeah.
be like, "Don't worry about Eric. He'll supply the goods." And in looking back at it now, like he was right. He was right to do so.
I think that's so crazy. I think it's such a crazy thing because obviously you don't treat any person the same. But like in football, like I remember when the Giggs was on about it and he was saying like about how he knew about to get the best out of each player by the way you treat them.
Yeah.
I think that's something we could take into our coaching as well because I think there's in a way you don't want to treat anyone different from anyone else, but in the football context, like to man manage someone, you need to know what's going to get the best out of them. And like when he said about Giggs, like Ryan Giggs was, he knew that if he give it loads to Giggs at half time, saying you're not playing well and all this. Then next half, Giggs would be like, I'm going to prove him wrong, and he'd go and like do something like score a goal or something like that. And I think that's like so important to know what different types of players you've got in your club to how to get like the best out of them.
I think it was quite funny when Ryan Giggs said it was a big mistake early on when he had that attitude of proving him wrong, because then he had like what 15 years, 10 years, something like that, of
10
just
years of that.
pure hairdryer treatment. Which is something, to be fair, the hairdryer treatment that he goes on about, it works at that level, but we can't include that within our own coaching, because it's like, because fair enough, because Sir Alex Ferguson, he never hold a grudge, so you can give the hairdryer treatment. The next day, he can be like, he'll ignore it, like he said, like he just nothing, he won't never bring it up again. If we ever go at someone on Wednesday, well, next time we'll see him next Wednesday before the game. They'll have the whole week to like manifest like this sort of like psychological issue, and it's just like one of them. We can't incorporate that, even though it might be quite funny with some players. See how they react.
I think it'd be an interesting thing to do, but I don't think it would work at our level, especially. I think what a really good question I think I brought from it was: would you rather manage in fear or manage in love? Like, would you rather be loved by your players or feared?
Well, there's that. I think they go on about it in a documentary, but there's that midway point, which is what they say called respect. So it's like you don't want to if you loved some players, especially some of the older players in our team, players we know personally, like friends, they will take the mick. I feel personally they will they won't take it as serious if you just everything it's just jolly, and when they're playing they might have some sort of like reaction which might be negative to the team's performance. So I feel like you might have to be right in between love and feared, and I feel that's where like it's about respect, and like that's where I feel like where we should try and strive to be. I feel personally right now we are towards the love side because we're very forceful on this social interaction side of our coaching, but I feel as the season progresses, when we get back, hopefully when we get back, we need to start being okay. We need to tone it down a bit on love and start to give some players a bit of stick if they want to try and get more out of them.
I think there's like a big difference between being feared and respected and fear and disliked.
Yeah.
Like I think I think especially now, I think Sir Alex Ferguson had that balance between that, like you said, then like love and fear. But you notice for managers now, it's like you got your Jurgen Klopps, who probably would say I'd say more is towards a love side, and then you've got like maybe like your Jose Mourinho's, which is like more of like your feared side. But with Mourinho, I think it starts at a scale with love, and then as it progresses 2-3 years down the line, it's starting to become like disliked. There's settled in the dressing room, and I think that's like what's so amazing about it is that he did that for 28 years to have that respect, like to slap bang in the middle between love and fear. And I think that's just like because you don't get that today. I don't think
we'll ever get that ever again, in my opinion. I don't think we'll ever get a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson, because football nowadays is so fast moving. Like managers are in, they're out. Like Sir Alex Ferguson has managed to have the best team in England, the best team in Europe for such a long time, and he didn't really change his coaching behaviour at all. Like if Cristiano Ronaldo, he talked about like when he said about before about fear. Ronaldo said it was good. He said he was scared, but it was good. It was good for the team.
I think like you're saying, then you would never get it again. I think I think football has changed in that sense of
like Sir Bobby as well.
Yeah, like you got Arsene Wenger, Sir Bobby Robson, them type of managers, and then now you're looking at it and you're thinking, who have we got in the modern game that sits in that fine line between fear and love? I couldn't really think of any. I could maybe think I could say maybe sometimes Klopp when you see him, but I just think he's the type of guy to be he loves you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You love him.
Because Liverpool players, what?
I think it's just it's very difficult for managers to get that now because they're obviously in there for such a short period of time.
Because I remember exactly. I saw an interview I think James Milner did after a Liverpool game. It was when he was talking about Klopp, and he said Klopp's like your friend, but he isn't your friend. You know what I mean? That's something like in our coaching specifically, we are your friend, and it's quite hard to cross that boundary and to be in that, that whole, I don't know, like that feared manager role.
Yeah, I do think that's like really interesting point, to be fair, that you've made there. What also I think was a massive thing that I caught up. This is probably my last point, to be fair, and about the documentary, is how he said about like there was no player bigger than the club.
Yeah.
And I think I think that doesn't matter if you're in sport, you're in business, job, anything. I don't think there could be any person that's bigger than what you're trying to build, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that we can definitely relay that into our coaching. I think that you've got players who play for us who know, like, obviously they are the ones who get carried away and stuff like that. And sometimes, I don't know if it'll ever happen to us, but there might be sometimes when we have to say to a player which could be like one of our best players in the team and just be like, sorry, you can't play for us because
your attitude's not
right, and all this stuff. And I think that's a massive reason why Alex Ferguson was so successful, because he was willing to get rid of the best players no matter how good they were.
Because you can relate it to like that cog analogy, can't you? Where if one cog is not moving the same pace as the other ones, the whole thing slows down, and
it's
that
like,
could be
the Wenger wheel. Is it the Wenger wheel?
Yeah.
So like you said there, that's like such like a good point as well.
Yeah.
Like about the wheel.
Because you can relate it to like, because it's for our context. For like Sir Alex Ferguson, it could be like performance. If he's not performing well enough, the whole team gets affected. But for us, it's also us is primarily psychological. And if some players are not like in the same like social mindset as other players, the team performance and the team cohesion does get affected negatively. So that is something we need to be considering going forward to try to like get everybody on the same page, everybody get the smiles and all that. When football hopefully starts up again, hopefully.
Hopefully it does. But I think that's a really good point you're making. Like say if there's like disruption within like the team, like say if there's two players arguing, like an example which I think is massive is the Ronaldo and Rooney thing. Do you remember in Portugal in like 2004 when they had that argument and then they had to come back to United, and it was like the fact of, oh, how are they going to sort this out? Does one of them have to go and stuff like that? But they managed to figure it out, and it's like,
could it just be like Sir Alex Ferguson about that grudge thing? Like happens then, but when they get back to United, it's just forgotten about. I won't be surprised if they didn't even speak about it between them.
Yeah. To be fair, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think, to be fair, mate, I think we've gone through a lot of points on that. To be honest,
I just want to refer back to that question, the first question you asked us, where you said about Sir Alex Ferguson and the upbringing that like molded his philosophy. Would you say your upbringing has created some sort of like philosophies, like philosophical stance?
Yeah, I definitely think. I think everyone's shaped in a way by parents, good or bad. I think definitely with me, I think I've been shaped in a way where, from my parents, where my coaching philosophy is kind of like it's in a way like shaped from them. But that's such like a weird thing to think about. Whereas like your upbringing definitely does shape who you are in sport, which is crazy to think about, because obviously it does shape you as a person. Obviously living life with your parents, good or bad. But like I definitely agree with what you're saying. What do you think?
Well, I feel like obviously I know your parents, so I definitely agree with you. I notice you have a different view on certain bits of coaching, like when we're coaching a team, which benefits the whole team performance as in general. For me, I learned a lot from my dad. He was a leader at his business, so like I've definitely picked up like leadership skills from him growing up. And I definitely transferred them into the coaching context of Fylde Road Football Club. So yeah, it's definitely.
I think that's a really good question. I think that's something which, good or bad, definitely shapes your philosophy.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to see. I think sometimes, easy to see sometimes in coaches who have been shaped in a certain way, or coaches who are copying. Would you say, like, because you get coaches who copy the likes of Klopp and all them stuff because theatrical and stuff like that. So I think it's easy to see when someone's had their good upbringing in the sense of the philosophy for coaching, or someone who's like kind of copying.
So that's like impression management, isn't it? Where you're acting out to be this person. You're acting out to be this coach. Because we've played against. Remember one of our games? We played against who was it? St. Peter's, and their manager was just he could so like transparent of he was just trying to act as his like Premier League football manager.
Yeah.
And nah, because even their players after the game they came up to us and said like, "Can we come and play for you?" But then COVID all happened and we haven't really been able to progress it far. But yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people trying to mirror people, isn't there? Like mirror coaches and stuff like that. I think that's massive, especially to coaching like today. Whereas like people who are just learning the game, maybe try and copy other people, but that's part of the learning process of coaching, I suppose.
It is definitely. So is any last comments about the documentary?
I think we've covered a lot there on that documentary. I think there's a few good points which we've mentioned. And obviously I think we should do something like this again. I think we need to watch that film, obviously, that Any Given Sunday.
Oh, so yeah.
Try and get...
Anybody watching this video got anyone watching this video got any suggestions of what to watch related to coaching, which you want us to get our own values or opinions out there about it? Definitely let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Besides that, just remember to remember it's a Sir Alex Ferguson Secrets to Success. It's available on Netflix. Don't give it a watch. We both recommend it. It's such a good film. And yeah, any last comments, Lewis?
No, that's brilliant. That was all, to be fair, mate.
No, sweet. So thanks, guys, for listening. Please subscribe, like, follow us on our coaching journey, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.